Hello, once again. Welcome and welcome back. My name is Eric. This channel is called Report and Opine. It is sometime in March 2020. We're about waist deep in the corona apocalypse right now, and some people are saying, oh, you better obey the orders and stay home. If you go outside, you're going to kill all of us. And some people are saying, don't worry about it. It's a hoax. It's the flu. We're going to be fine. And I don't know. I don't have the answers to either one of those questions, but I do have a couple questions of my own because the timing is just a little bit too convenient, and I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's all fake, but I do think it deserves a little bit of questioning, especially considering over the last 3 or 4 years at least, we've seen a string of events either caused by or used to the advantage of the Democratic Party and the left-wing media, but I repeat myself. So, going all the way back to Inauguration Day, January 20th, 2017, the Washington Post, or Washington Compost, publishes an article called "The Campaign to Impeach President Trump Has Begun." And why was that so urgent? You don't have a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day money-back guarantee trial period? No. On the very first day, we want this man impeached. But why? That's a very simple question that I just haven't heard answers to. Then in May of 2017, Robert Mueller is appointed the special counsel because he's going to get to the bottom of all this Russian collusion, right? I mean, it's laughable now, almost cartoonish, to think about how seriously people were taking this. It was a campaign strategy made up and paid for by Hillary Clinton, but it just backfired on all of us, and we spent 3 years and loads of taxpayer dollars investigating Russian collusion. Give me a break. Then in October of 2017, October 1st to be exact, is actually my birthday. I wear a 9.5 in Yeezys, if you were wondering. But anyway, on October 1, 2017, we have the Las Vegas shooting, which is not directly connected to this whole thing, but gun control is something that the Democrats love. They just want complete power. And I think it just comes from a little bit of a guilty conscience, right? Because they know they're so crooked and corrupt that if people really find out about this, the people with the guns are coming for them first. And there's a handful of questions about this Las Vegas shooting that just haven't been answered. Some details that just don't really add up, but that's for another video. Then in January of 2018, we have Rashida Tlaib, who at that point hadn't spent 1 day in Congress, but she steps out there like, we're going to get in there and impeach the MFer. Yeah, it's like, wait, so why is that so urgent? What did you run for Congress for? You didn't run for Congress to help out your community, or you had some ideas that you wanted to push forward? Nope, just impeachment. Why though? Why is that so urgent? You guys are disgusting. Then in February of 2018, we have the Parkland shooting, which again is just another big time gun grab. This event did, of course, birth a couple of, mild celebrities and David Hogg and that little bald girl. Now, I don't think they're relevant anymore. The left will just prop these little kids up as shields for whatever they're pushing at the moment. And as soon as they are no longer politically convenient, they toss them aside. So where are these kids at now? Hanging out with Greta, shooting H in an alleyway somewhere? What's going on? And then in June of 2018, we have Mad Maxine Waters on what was a pretty literal soapbox, talking to some of her supporters, saying that if you see anybody from the Trump cabinet, you get around them and start a scene and push back on them, I think was the word she used, which doesn't really make sense because the whole time they were probably screaming about something that Donald Trump tweeted or something that he said to a reporter and how his rhetoric is so divisive and hate-filled. Meanwhile, they're saying, you should go be chaotic and scream at anybody that is wearing a red hat. Go now. Then we've got in 2018 as well, June, Bill Maher calling for a recession, saying that, yeah, I welcome a recession if it gets rid of Trump. It's like, well, of course you would, because you're Hollywood leftist, elitist, pervert who doesn't care about the people who are finally seeing a little bit of prosperity due to some of these Trump policy positions. And you're like, well, whatever. They're poor anyways. They're never going to be able to get up here to my elite ivory tower. So let's do a recession. Otherwise, me and some of my corrupt Hollywood buddies might be outed as, pedophiles and perverts. Huh, Bill? What's going on with that? Were you friends with Epstein or Weinstein? Answer me that, Bill. Can't stand you. Absolutely disgusting. Then we've got between July and October of 2018, this entire Brett Kavanaugh chaos where Christine Blasey Ford, Julie Swetnick, Debbie Ramirez, and of course Michael Avenatti all come out because we just cannot have a conservative justice appointed, and 30 years ago this man sexually assaulted me and this, that, and the other, gang rape parties and the like, and then as soon as Kavanaugh gets confirmed, they all just dissolve because they're not fighting for justice anymore, except for Michael Avenatti, who is of course now a convicted extortionist. But these are the type of people that we're dealing with over there. They will stop at nothing to gain or maintain power. Then in October of 2018, we have Hillary Clinton telling a CNN reporter that we can't be civil. So it's very similar to what Mad Maxine Waters did, just saying, oh, well, if you see somebody who didn't vote for me, attack them. That's basically what she said. We cannot be civil until the Democrats regain power. Calm down, lady. It's going to be okay. Unless it's not, because your whole corrupt lifestyle is crumbling before your eyes and you just are squirming, at, flopping around like a fish out of water to keep your lifestyle afloat, which is probably what's actually happening. Then in late 2018, we have the migrant caravan, which to me was sort of this catch-22 attack, sort of similar to the virus, right? Because no matter what Donald Trump does, they can just say he's wrong. So we have all these, poor little asylum seekers coming from Southern and Central America, and we have to let them in. If you don't, you're a racist and you want to ruin their lives. But if you do let them in, we're going to just say that you don't care about the American people. So pick your poison, Don. Then in December of 2018, we have, and this flew under the radar a little bit, perhaps because of the migrant caravans or the Kavanaugh stuff, but a judge ordered discovery probe into Hillary Clinton's use of a private server in discussing Benghazi. And of course, she wants no part of that. She will never tell the truth. She will run away from it. And she does not care how many people she has to kill to make sure that she stays afloat. This woman would probably die before she tells the truth. But good on the folks over at Judicial Watch for standing up for this. But again, be careful, fellas, because we know what this woman's capable of. It'll be an accident. And then in January of 2019, so only a month or so later, we've got Jussie Smollett hopping out the window with his MAGA hat hate crime hoax. So Hillary is worried about her emails because they just won't go away no matter how hard she tries. And a month later, Jussie Smollett comes out and says that some guys wearing a MAGA hat beat me up and poured bleach on me and tried to tie a noose around my neck. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris and Cory Booker over there writing up their anti-lynching bill. So these people are all in cahoots because they want to maintain fear and control naturally. So this event sort of had, sort of killed two birds with one stone. So Jussie in this whole fiasco, well, of course it backfired, but not really because he's not going to face consequences. But he can help Kamala and Cory prove that we need an anti-lynching bill because most black people in 2019 were deathly afraid of being lynched by a MAGA hat wearing racist. But it can also sort of divert the eyes from what Hillary Clinton may or may not have to fess up to. Then in March 2019, we've got the beginning of the Hong Kong protests, which of course does not seem immediately related on the surface. But if you think about how this virus started, they might be related. I'm just saying, real tinfoil hat stuff, right? So before everybody was, I stand with Hong Kong, yeah, freedom, man. Even the NBA was like, I stand with Hong Kong. And then China was like, do you want us to still show NBA games here in China? And they were like, you don't stand with Hong Kong at all. Which of course comes back later because the NBA was among the first to shut down business under the guise of this deadly virus that a man in perfect health got, and I'm sure he'll be okay, but that's not the point. Then in March of 2019 as well, we have the end of the Mueller investigation. So again, between 2017 and 2019, people are still believing in this Russia collusion hoax, screaming about it almost every single day. And it is absolutely hilarious to think about it now, how seriously these people were taking the idea that Donald Trump was working with Russia. What? Get a grip, guys. You really got a guilty conscience. Something else is all behind this. Then we've got, in July of 2019, Jeffrey Epstein get arrested. Now, this is obviously quite scary for all of these people because media personalities, Hollywood elites, and politicians were all super cozy with this guy, even though he had already been arrested and did a little time in jail for some weird perverted stuff back in 2009 or 2010, and then had a little dinner party and a lot of people showed up. George Stephanopoulos, Chelsea Handler. I actually talked about them in an old video. Go ahead and watch that one as well. But this is now getting way too close to home, and naturally, less than a month later, he was found dead in his jail cell while under suicide watch with cameras everywhere and guards all around the building. So they couldn't keep an eye on him, but they will certainly protect this whistleblower when it comes to the impeachment trial. But that still hasn't even shown up yet. At this point, they're still talking about Russia. Imagine that. So then in July, after Epstein is arrested, but before he dies, Robert Mueller testifies in front of Congress because the left just is a glutton for punishment. And they already had the book. They had the whole report that said no collusion. But they wanted him to testify because they thought it was going to add a little icing to the cake or whatever it might be. But it didn't. It only made them look worse and proved that Robert Mueller was a completely empty suit and didn't know what was going on. They asked him about Fusion GPS, which was sort of the nucleus surrounding or at the center of the whole thing, I should say. And he said, I'm not sure. Can you repeat the question? It's not in my purview. And you're like, wait, what? What's really going on here? But of course, the whole thing was fake. So it doesn't matter either way. And then after the entire Russia collusion hoax falls flat on its face, which would have been July 24th, 2019, only 4 days later, July 28th, 2019, mass shooting in Gilroy, California, August 3rd, mass shooting in El Paso, Texas, and August 4th, mass shooting in Dayton, Ohio. And only a few days later after that, August 10th, Epstein is found dead in his jail cell. Now again, how are you so protective of a whistleblower in the Ukraine impeachment hoax, which is hilarious because for 3 years it was Russia and then you pivoted on a dime, switched to Ukraine, said a whistleblower was going to take him down, must protect him at all costs, but the most prolific pedophile in probably history, you turn your back on because that stuff just really doesn't matter. Then in September of 2019, Nancy Pelosi finally announces a formal impeachment inquiry, which also is fairly funny because for a long time she was being kind of sane and said that impeachment needs to be bipartisan, but something happened. I don't know, the hard left got to her. She just had a couple more drinks and changed her mind and said, all right, we're going through with this impeachment. And then withheld the articles after they were drawn up while the rest of the Democrats were saying that it was urgent. So which is it? Is it urgent and our democracy is all at stake here? Or is it you're just going to do it when you're ready because, I'm Nancy Pelosi? It doesn't really add up. And it was a complete circus, the whole trial, right? I mean, you had Adam Schiff doing his dramatic reading of the Ukraine transcript where he just injected everything that he wished was in there. Of course, it wasn't. And then we had Yovanovitch and Gordon Sondland and Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, who was just so sassy. These people were complete deep state hacks, but they're Democrats, so we just have to believe every word they say. Absolute insanity. And while all of this is going on, these people, these Democrats and these left-wing media pundits can see what's happening in the UK when their common sense conservative party just sort of shellacked the left-wing party over there, the Labour Party, I think it's called, in their version of Bernie Sanders, Jeremy Corbyn, just handed them the hugest L that they've probably seen in, I think, 100 years. Literally, they hadn't lost at a margin like that in nearly 100 years. And all of the left-wing politicians here are looking at that like, oh no, that's probably coming for us. People don't really want this socialism, open borders, one world government thing. What are we going to do about it? So then February rolls around. Trump is acquitted. So the Senate trial happens. We all knew he was going to get off. It was not rocket science in the least bit, but the Democrats wanted to waste loads of time and money watching it all go down. So then Trump gets to strut out there and say, acquitted. And you're like, yeah, of course, we all saw it coming. And then February 24, 2020, Harvey Weinstein is found guilty of whatever weird sexual perversions that he was doing and sentenced to 23 years in jail. And only 2 days later, so between February 24th, 2020 and February 26th, 2020, is when we see the first case of coronavirus in the United States, California of all places, and it didn't have a source. This person who had it didn't have, of course, they think they didn't have contact with anybody who came from China or whatever. It was, there was no source. We couldn't call it. We didn't know where it came from. But it showed up 2 days after Harvey Weinstein was found guilty and sentenced to 23 years in jail. Then March 3rd, 2020, a judge rules that the good folks over at Judicial Watch can depose Hillary Clinton under oath. She naturally appeals that because she just will not face the music. Hillary, if you are innocent, just go up there and clear your name and it will all be over with. But it's not. We all know that you are disgustingly guilty of probably more than we even know. Then on March 19th, 2020, we're pretty much at present day here, give or take, right? Is when California shuts down completely, shortly followed by New York shut down completely. These are economic hubs of the United States, and the people on the left know that this is their last ditch effort, is to crash the entire economy. So first it was Russia, that didn't work. Then it was Ukraine, that didn't work. The last ditch effort is to crash the entire economy, point the finger at Donald Trump, say that we need to do socialism, democratic policies will work, and on top of all of it, he is a racist for calling the virus the Chinese virus, right? And while this is all happening, all these celebrities are coming down with the virus and just saying that, oh, I got it, it's real, you better watch out, and they can watch, for the last year or so, all the politicians and the media personalities on the left can watch all of their presidential candidates just crumble. The only people that were even remotely realistic were the ones that they shut out of the establishment, and now we're down to Bernie and Biden, who just don't stand a chance. No amount of economic collapse is going to allow either one of those guys to beat Donald Trump. And on top of all that, they now know that they're losing black voters. And if they lose any more black voters, they do not stand a chance for a long time. So I suggest to all the Democrats, you get back in the dungeon and come up with a plan. Now, again, I'm not going to sit here and say that the virus is fake, but I do believe that it certainly played up to astronomical proportions, almost like this Russia stuff was, to make sure that we take down Donald Trump. So that's it. That's all I got. Loads of links in the description. Let me know if I'm bugging or maybe some of this stuff is actually connected, because I don't know, but it looks like it from here if you just do the timeline and use DuckDuckGo. Don't use your Googles, because the first 3 or 4 pages of that is going to lie to you. But until the next one, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening.